In the summer of 2023, I took a huge step forward in my writing career. For the first time, I decided to tackle a format I had never attempted before: audio. I had always dreamed of hearing my words brought to life, especially for readers like my mom, who preferred to listen to books. But as an indie author, I wasn't sure it would even be possible. That changed when I discovered ACX. I want to take you behind the scenes of how The Forgotten Prince, Secrets in the Shadows, and Battle for the Land of Sweets became audiobooks. From choosing a narrator to what ACX actually is, and what it's like to hear your story come to life. It's been such a fun part of my author journey, and I've learned a lot along the way. I'd done my research and decided to use the royalty share option through ACX, Audible's audiobook platform for indie authors. I uploaded the audition, prayed, and waited. My husband and I were on a road trip when the first emails started coming in. I'll never forget opening the first audition and hearing a voice that made me cheer in my seat. He captured the tone, the characters, and the heart of my book. That narrator was Steve Travers.
Yeah, that's looking better. Okay, great. Great, great, great.
Okay. So I was just thinking the other day about how this all got started and how it was my first time putting up a book on ACX to see if anyone would audition. And I remember thinking, no one is going to audition for this. And I got to where yours was the first one that came in.
hmm
First, I was like, oh, I think I wanted a girl because this is more of like a, nutcracker ballet inspired story.
Right.
And then heard how you read Drosselmeyer's voice, and I went, nope, nope, that's the one. So, what made you want to audition for a Nutcracker type story?
Well, I'll tell you my like my because it was pretty new for me too. I was just getting started doing audiobook narration. I've done a lot of, I'm a singer by trade, but I've tried to dabble in some voiceover things in the past. But I had auditioned for a few things before that. And I actually got selected for one which seemed pretty fun. It was a kind of like a sci-fi mystery kind of thing, and I was really excited about it. And this is where I really see like God working in it, because I started to read the script, the manuscript, and I started to go, uh-oh. Because there was something early on where something happens to a character who has a Bible, and then like everything after like the flood or something gets ripped out of his Bible, and it's like, oh, he knows what that means. And I'm like, what does that mean?
What does that
So I
mean?
kind of flip forward through to the end, and it's clear that this author is very anti everything after the flood, like anti Bible everything after the flood. And I'm like,
No,
I
that's
can't do
weird.
that.
Yeah.
And then one of the next things I came across, so I felt like I was struggling with that, because I was like, am I gonna be kind of blacklisted if I say I can't do this anymore? And that's kind of, I was kind of getting some opinions from people when I was asking about it, not on ACX, but like family members and whatnot. Like, yeah, you probably should just go on, and I'm like, I can't. And, it would be a sully to my witness. And then I found the Battle for the Land of Sweets, and I'm like, I love things like, it gave me Narnia vibes, right? And
Mhm.
I love Narnia and the Lord of the Rings. You can clearly see I'm a big
Yeah.
fan, stuff like that. And so I was just really enjoyed reading the audition script, and so it kind of led me to that. So it was just, God working in that, honoring that whole, like, you know, I don't know how else to put it. Yeah, So
Yeah, and you've been great to work with. Like it
thank
was
you.
nice to be able to say, oh, fix this or fix that and not feel like I was a jerk for saying it.
Oh no, yeah. I mean, I feel like, I have no ego whatsoever. So, and it's your project, right? So
Mhm.
it's like I want to bring your voice to life. It's not, I mean, I have voices, sure, but
Mhm.
it's, you wrote it. So, I want it to be as genuine to what, is in your mind as possible. So
Yeah. Well,
And
because
yeah,
we worked so great, I wanted you to work on other projects, so I gave you more than Conquerors. And
yeah.
you said that, that was a new experience for both of us. What have you learned since then, since doing that first project?
Yeah, I think my background coming into this, I mean, uh, I've always been told I do good impressions and such, and voices, but that's just the acting part, right?
Mhm.
And that I continue to work on that as well, but just the whole process of how to edit and how to, because I mean, I'm okay with technical stuff, but it's not like it's not natural, it's not like and it's easy, it's not easy.
Yeah.
So, I've learned basically how to do it, I guess, faster and more efficiently, I guess. And the process, I actually have like a processing schedule in my mind as to how things will work more smoothly. Like I read through a whole big section, then I go back and listen to it. And I can also, like, if I know I made a mistake, I can stop and re-record it. Then I go back and listen to it while I'm reading the manuscript and be like, oh, I missed that word, or oh, I didn't like how that sounded.
Mhm.
So, it's just much easier now that I've done a few projects, several projects, just the
Yeah.
whole editing process. So, yeah.
I was so scared when we first got started that every time I told you something that needed to be fixed, you had to like re-record the whole chapter.
Oh no. Yeah, no, thankfully that's not the case at all. I can just go back and, take a little slot out and re-record that and stick it right in and it's no big deal.
Good.
So,
I have no idea how to do any of that.
oh yeah.
I've had a few people that asked if I narrated my own books, and I'm like, I wouldn't know where to begin. I have no idea how to do any of that.
Well, I mean, I feel like I'm still learning. I've been learning through this whole process, and I'm very thankful that you were basically the first one to give me a break, if you will. And it's been just wonderful working with you as well. So,
Well, and like you said, you're great at doing all the different voices. Like, I just had a friend start listening to Forgotten Prince, and she was like, "Your narrator is killing the voice."
well, thank you. I
But
appreciate that. Thank you.
I do know that I make it difficult by having a very large cast in my stories. So how do
Oh, I mean, yeah,
you act
it's
out all
what,
of the voices?
yeah, yeah. That makes it fun though. That does.
Do you have like recordings and things that you could go reference at
So
all?
that's a good question because what I will do, like, if there's, especially if it's a character that, hasn't shown up for several chapters or even the previous book,
Yeah.
um, I basically what I do is I will go, like, I'm like, okay, what did I make that one sound like? And then I'll
Hmm.
go back to, I'll search in my manuscript, find, the name
Hmm.
and, go back. I'm like, okay, the last time this character appeared was in chapter 9, about a third of the way through the chapter. And then I'll go back to the recording of chapter 9 and listen to what that sounded like. I'm like, okay, that's what it was. Yeah, yeah,
I make
yeah.
it really difficult for you.
No, no, I enjoy it. I really do.
Um, what characters do you like to read for the most?
Ooh. Um, Probably the ones that have the most unique voices. Like, oh gosh, I'm blanking on the names now. Well, you mentioned Drosselmeyer in
Hmm.
Battle for the Land of Sweets, and kind of a similar vibe to that, I guess, is the gruff. I'm blanking on the knight's name now.
Oh,
Uh,
Leon.
Leon, thank you, Sir Leon. Yes, yeah, yeah. I enjoy doing Sir Leon a lot. Just anything that I come, when I can come up with something unique like that, a very unique voice that's, fun to do. I really enjoy doing stuff. And I really like how in this in Secrets of the Shadows, how I'm not gonna, I guess I shouldn't give things away, but we get more into his backstory a little bit.
Mhm.
So that was fun to kind of bring that nuance out as well. So yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I accidentally gave a spoiler at my writing group the other day.
yeah.
Someone who's reading the series, but she hadn't gotten to the second book, and I said something, and she was like, "What?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh,
Oh no.
I've got to stop doing that."
It's like
Um,
Mark Ruffalo and Tom Holland with the Marvel Cinematic Universe
yes,
stuff.
that is me during my writing groups, constantly spilling stuff.
Right, right.
Um, what was, or is there a favorite scene that you've read?
Ooh, favorite scene that I've read. Ah, I, I can't come up with just one off the top of my head. Yeah, there's so many good ones though. I think well, we were just listening to the Forgotten Prince. My wife and my son and I just took a trip down to Universal Studios in
Oh, wow.
Orlando a couple weeks ago, and that's where my wife listens to my stuff. So we were listening to the Forgotten Prince, and just I think one of the very like climactic scene with the whole battle going on, and when he encounters the king from Samavia.
Adrian. Yeah.
Hadrian, thank you. Gosh, I'm sorry. I keep
Okay.
blanking on names. And the whole interaction with that, I mean, that was a pretty emotional scene for sure.
Mhm.
And yeah, definitely. That's one of my favorites, I think.
Good. Yeah, my parents like to listen to my books when they're traveling. And now that I live in Idaho and my brother lives in Tennessee, their traveling is a lot further now.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Um,
for sure.
and so they'll re-listen to my books almost every time. And
Yeah.
my dad's favorite scene is in Battle for the Land of Sweets when they're in the sugar flower fields and you made the little fairy's voice like super high pitched.
I remember us going back and forth on that one. That was a lot of fun. I wanted it to be a very like high pitched something that I couldn't do,
Yeah.
and just very out there. And I'm glad we
Yeah.
found a good place for that. So,
Very monkey, but it's great.
yeah, yeah.
So how long does it take you to record a book, not including how long it takes me to listen to it and get back to you?
Yeah, I would say probably for every hour of polished recording, it probably takes at least four times as long to record, listen, edit, and all that stuff. So yeah,
Wow.
probably about 4 hours to every hour, I would say,
Wow.
something like that. Yeah, maybe longer.
So I'm not very good at working on my YouTube videos yet, and I
Mhm.
believe it because it
Yeah.
just it's so long.
It does. It does. Yeah. And if my like I mean I do it with headphones on usually, but there have been times where my son is, comes in the room while I'm editing or whatnot, and I'm listening to something over and over like several times. He's like, why are you doing that? He like doesn't understand. It's like because I'm trying to get the right, inflection and trying to get, the words right, etc. But yeah, it takes time.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So you as a narrator, as the
Hmm.
narrator, you get a deeper understanding of the stories, I feel. I don't know if it's just because you're paying attention more, you listen to it like 15,000 times.
Right, right.
Or it's between us, messaging back and forth and stuff,
Yeah.
me clarifying things. Um, so do you have any predictions for the rest of either of the series that you've worked on?
Ooh. Oh, that's a good question. Yeah. I thought it was fascinating how Secrets in the Shadows kind of diverts your attention from the whole Hadrian thing and, toward this whole thing with Oliver and Alphalos.
Mhm.
And I'll tell you what, I did not see the end of that one coming. I'm not, and no spoilers, but that was definitely a good twist in the end of that one. But going forward, gosh. No, I feel like, I'm just as much along for the ride as anyone else.
Okay.
I get to see it first, but I read the whole thing first before I narrate it. But yeah, I don't feel like I have any special insight. No.
So we did just finish working on Secrets in the Shadows, and yeah, we're not going to give spoilers, but it ended on a pretty big cliffhanger. How did that make you feel?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it definitely leaves you wanting more. I'm like, oh my gosh,
Mm.
what's coming, and and how will Hadrian get back into the mix and all that too. So yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, my mom just finished listening to it and she got very upset at me. Like, sorry.
yeah. Yeah,
Um,
I think we're gonna listen to that one again. Or well, my wife for the first time. We're gonna visit my folks in a couple of weeks up in Connecticut. So I will have been to Florida and then up to Connecticut in in the span of about a month. So we'll definitely listen to that on the way up, and I'll be like, oh yeah, oh, forgot about that.
So the next book, A Year of Miracles, is out, and I've been trying to be like, I don't know how his schedule is. Are you ready to work on the next one?
Probably. I do have I know I'm on the short list for this and you'll like this. It's a project it's like a retelling of the Phantom of the Opera
Ooh,
set in New York. So I'm hoping I'll be selected for that, which may be very, very soon. But other than that, I don't currently have anything right
okay.
now that I'm, working on, so audiobook wise. So
Well,
yeah, you get it to me and I'll get on it as fast as I can.
yeah. So the next one in the Christmas Realm Chronicles is supposed to be coming out in November. So that one
Oh,
I'm
nice.
getting fairly close to finishing as well. So
Excellent.
I think I'll send over A Year of Miracles and we'll see if timing works out so that we can get that one out as well.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So do you have any questions for me?
Mm. Um, I guess, well, when did you know that you wanted to start writing, as a vocation, if you will?
I was about 16.
Okay.
And at that point, I wanted so badly to just do whatever God wanted me to do. For
Yeah.
years, I have been like, I'm going to be a marine biologist. Why? I don't know. I was bad at science and I hate the ocean. I don't know. So I had gotten to this point where I was just praying constantly, going, God, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do?
Yeah.
And at the same time, I couldn't find books that I related to anymore. The books that
Mm,
were for American teenagers, I was like, it has stuff in there that I, as a Christian, don't agree with. I don't want to read these. And
mm,
so I was going through this like very like lonely time since books were usually how I related to the world.
hmm
And I met a man at a camp who had written a book for Christian teenagers. And it just kind of felt like God like tapped me on the shoulder and was like, this is what I want you to do.
Yeah.
And so even though like I came away from that camp and I was like, even though in years past I had tried writing something and had kind of gotten discouraged from it by someone that was like, they didn't think it was very good, like filled it with red ink and stuff. And I was used to say I am a reader, but I'm not a writer. I came
hmm
away from that camp going, well, if this is what wants me to do, he'll help me do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that was kind of when I decided I wanted to do that. And
Mm,
it was many years later going through a lot of setbacks and other things like that because there wasn't a lot of encouragement for it. It was like, oh, that's a nice hobby. You should, you know, get a real job first, though. And so
yeah.
it took me a while to start going, no, I'm going to start working towards this.
Yeah. I think that can be it can be a scary, especially that first step, right?
Mhm.
Just start writing or whatever. I think a similar thing with the audiobooks thing. I mean, it's I mean, my that's it's not my primary job, obviously. I have, I'm a church music director.
Mhm.
I'm also a baseball umpire of all things. Um, but just, when my wife first like, showed me, hey, why don't you try this? I see this ACX, thing you could do, and I was like, yeah, that actually sounds like something I would, love to do. And I mean, as we talked about, we were both kind of in it at the same time, sort of, and I think God put us together because,
Mhm.
I just, like I'd mentioned earlier, I had had accepted that one for the one that was very not Christian, very anti-biblical, and then I found yours, which was like, kind of an allegory, a
Mhm.
biblical allegory, and I was like, this, and it's, Christian young adult fantasy. I'm like, that's perfect. That's the kind of story I love,
Mhm.
So it was, yeah, just following God's path has been
Yeah,
great.
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah,
But I don't think I have any more questions.
okay.
But it was really good to be able to talk to you and, like you said, see face to face and
I
stuff.
know. Yeah. 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 Absolutely. Yeah. Well, yeah, this has been just such a fun journey that we've been on, and the characters have been on. So I've really enjoyed giving voice to all these characters, and I really look forward to continuing to do it. So,
Yeah. And thank you so much for lending your talent to these projects.
oh, absolutely. It's been my pleasure. It really has.
Going through this process taught me that sometimes what feels impossible just needs the right open door. ACX gave me that platform, and Steve brought my story to life. I didn't need a huge budget or studio. I just needed a story worth telling and the courage to say yes to something new. I hope this gives you a glimpse into what's possible as an indie author. Whether you're thinking about audio or just curious about how it works, feel free to drop your questions in the comments below. And if you want to hear any of my books for yourself, I'll leave the links to Audible in the description below. Thanks for watching. Bye. Whether you're thinking about audio or just curious how it works, drop a comment, drop a something. And if you want to listen to any of my books, I'll do something.